Hey, what's going on, folks? It is the Black Rose here, and I'm excited to make some predictions about the upcoming Star Wars show, Maul Shadow Lord. So, yeah, I adore Star Wars. Yeah, I'm a huge fan, and Maul is my favorite character. Been looking forward to this since the first teaser came out, man. So excited. It's coming out soon, too. Right. You can't go wrong with this character. Like, he's kind of become more an anti-hero than, like, a true bad guy in Star Wars, and yeah, like the fight scenes of him always great. That's really a big part of the character and what makes him entertaining is those elaborate duels. Yeah, yeah, I love the love this character. And Star Wars has just been kind of dead since Andor ended, really. Yeah, I kind of liked Skeleton Crew, that kids show that came out. That yeah, liked it, didn't love it. Yeah, was not a fan of the Acolyte. Some good combat scenes in that, but as a whole, it was like, nah, like you can't just interject this weird story into George Lucas's story. Like, it's just weird. Yeah, and let's see. Yeah, Ahsoka, like Ahsoka, it's just we need more. It's been a while. And I like The Mandalorian and slash Book of Boba Fett. But yeah, yeah, we need more. Yeah, it's just gone. But yeah, like I'm more excited for this than I would be for any of those, honestly. Right. So to make some predictions here. And yeah, so there's some quotes I'm using that are coming from an interview that Sam Witwer, the voice actor behind Maul, and one of the creative inspirations behind what's going on here. Yeah, so he did this interview with Star Wars Insider, the official Star Wars magazine, which sadly is coming to an end pretty soon. Yeah, the world's changing. There's not going to be Star Wars Insider anymore, but oh well. But since that's like a paper magazine, I'm actually getting the quotes from Star Wars Holocron. Yeah, they did their own coverage of this, and yeah, Sam Witwer reveals how Maul was changed in Maul Shadow Lord. That's the article title. It's by George and Josh Bate. So yeah, good stuff. Right. So first thing I want to talk about here is kind of a question: is Rook Kast the Armorer? So Rook Kast is she's one of Maul's Mandalorian lieutenants, and she's apparently his first lieutenant in this upcoming show. So, yeah, a lot of people have theorized that she's actually going to end up being the armorer in The Mandalorian, that those characters are one and the same. We just don't know yet. So, I'm mixed on it. So, I've previously thought that the armorer was going to end up being Ursa Wren, another Mandalorian character, Sabine Wren's mother. Yeah, if you saw Rebels or Ahsoka, Sabine's mom. Yeah, she was one of the Mandalorians that formed the Night Owls with Bo-Katan, right? And yeah, it's exactly the kind of character they would do something like that with, and also, like, I'm not sure if it's still going on, but at the time, like, there was a bunch of talk about the Ahsoka storyline and the Mandalorian storyline converging on each other. Like, we were going to end up with, one show there. So they're like at least crossover episodes or something. Right. And, like, I was thinking, well, this is how they're going to do it. Since Sabine's in Ahsoka, like, what's going to happen here is she's going to need her mom for some reason, and she's going to end up finding the Mandalorian covert, and the armor is going to be her mom. Like, that's the obvious way to connect the two storylines. And I still feel like that could be right. Thing is, like, I could see the armorer being Rook Kast now. Like, the clues for it are there. Like the horns, like hinting that she was a Mandalorian, and emphasis on melee combat. Rook Kast was a major melee user, and yeah, like it could be. I could see it this way. It's just like knowing Disney, I feel like at least the Kathleen Kennedy Disney, I always felt like Ursa was more likely. It just feels more like the move that regime would make. But yeah, now that Kathleen's gone and yeah, Filoni's stepping up more like he should. I feel like maybe they've changed plans. Like maybe the original plan was for that to be Ursa Wren, but now they're switching to she's going to be Rook Kast. So we'll see. I could see it being either thing. And yeah, there is a quote about Rook Kast from the Sam Witwer interview. So let's read it. Rook Kast is his first lieutenant, and their relationship is interesting because Maul actually listens to her, Witwer said. He's learns that people have valuable points of view, and that unlike Palpatine, he needs to hear bad news sometimes. So he's figuring out what it really means to be a Shadow Lord. Right, so yeah, interesting there, I guess. Like, unlike Palpatine, because he's going to be frequently on the losing end. He's a crime syndicate leader, and Palpatine's the Emperor, so yeah. Oh well, yeah, that's how it is. So I want to make a guess here, and I'm so not sure. Is the armorer going to be Rook Kast or Ursa Wren? I feel like we wouldn't even get the answer this season. That would be something they do down the line, not soon. Alright, for the time being, I am going to switch, actually. I'm going to go if the armorer is, in fact, Rook Kast. But we're not going to find out this season. That's going to be future. So yeah, that's my prediction, at least the first one. Second, I think we're going to see Maul become more of a Darksider than a true Sith. We might even call it a gray Darksider, Grey Sith, opposite of Grey Jedi. And yeah, here's another quote from Sam Witwer. Now, he's looking at the galaxy going, boy, we could sure use a Jedi Knight or two. At least with the Jedi, you knew where they stood. There's something to respect there. This Empire, he sees no values there. Just a naked grab for influence, power, and money. Principles are gone, and he looks at that with a certain level of distaste. He may not have agreed with the Jedi Knights, but at least they had principles. You knew who you were dealing with, and you could reason with that. There's no reasoning with the Empire. Right, so really, if we take Maul from the Phantom Menace, look at the Clone Wars, then Rebels, all his appearances, we kind of see him, become more of this anti-hero as opposed to a true villain. He's still selfish, still selfish ambition, still uses the dark side mainly, but yeah, you don't think of him quite as a villain, right? Because ultimately, he's another party, trying to get power, right? He's just, another republic, another separatists, another empire, another one of these factions, right? So yeah, and there's an important line to be walked here, though, because, we don't want him to be a good guy, right? That's just not Maul. You want him to be this vicious dude, and, right, so you have to walk this line with him, potentially using more light side powers, or, caring about people like his brother, his family on Dathomir. It's got to be a line walked carefully. It can't make him a good guy. Right, so yeah, I just hope they execute this well. Because you got to get this right. Maul isn't a good guy. He, if you had to pick between hero and villain, you would say villain. Of course, there's a gray area there. We can't pretend that those two things are two sides of the same coin, because they're not. But yeah, we don't want Maul to be... We don't want to empathize with him too much. For a third spot, something a bit simpler, I think we'll see Maul use dual-wield lightsabers at least once, and that's called Jar Kai, if you don't know. Right, so... Yeah, something I found interesting in both the teaser and the official trailer is we see just one half of his double-bladed saber, at least the one he has currently, in the show, same one we saw in Season 7 of the Clone Wars. So we see just that half of it sitting on a table in the teaser as he's pouring some tea or something. And I didn't see it the first time, but after I saw it a second, I was like, wait, that's just one half of it. So yeah, that tells us that does detach. And sure enough, we see him kind of clip both together for just a split second in the official trailer. So yeah, that's neat. We didn't know that before, but yeah, he can detach that. He can, I guess, twists off, and it becomes two lightsabers, like in Jedi Survivor, sorta. Yeah, I think that's neat. So, and we have seen Maul use Jar Kai, Yeah, one time I can recall. I'm not sure if there are more, but yeah, like in his duel with Sidious, one of the greatest Star Wars moments ever, he used Jar-Kai against Darth Sidious and kept up with him. He was good with it. He's holding Darth Sidious back, keeping his feet moving backward with this. Like, damn, Maul is awesome. One of the only characters that can contend with Sidious in a duel. Right, so yeah, and to me, the whole premise of that duel, like, at least, yeah, when we get to the end, is strength in the Force beats skill with the blade. Like, Sidious is just too much more powerful than Maul for him to win. That's what I think the main message there was, and man, that's awesome. Wish that duel had been longer. Right, so yeah, that's my prediction. I think we're going to see Maul use Jar-Kai at least once. Right, for a fourth spot, we're going to get some flashbacks of Savage. So, yeah, they've been kind of hinting this at, so here's another quote from Witwer. He's exploring who he is and also thinking about his brother, Savage Opress, his first apprentice and family. Did he treat him as well as he should have, considering how loyal Savage was? No, but now he's finally assessing that and realizing I failed him. Yeah, so they've hinted it in a few ways that Savage plays some kind of role in this show. So it's probably flashbacks, right? Maybe kind of haunts Maul a little. And yeah, I always thought it was a shame that the Maul Savage storyline got cut short because of the Disney acquisition. Kind of why it came to the, seemingly abrupt ends that it did. Yeah, they meant to do more there. And yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity to tell stories about the period in which they ruled Mandalore along with the rest of the Shadow Collective they had formed. Yeah, so, actually one of my major Star Wars ideas was, doesn't exist. So, yeah, I always thought it would be neat for there to be a live-action Maul project, like movies or a show, however much material whoever's working on it can make, where Ray Park would return as Maul, and Jason Momoa would play Savage. Yeah, I think that casting is begging to happen. Momoa is Savage. And essentially, like, my idea for the story of this is Sidious is realizing that Maul is becoming powerful. He's setting up his own faction to contend for domination in the galaxy, and he decides, all right, so it's time to test him. I have a rival now, and he's just having fun with it. He's Darth Sidious. This is somewhat fun for him. So he decides that to earn a battle with him, Maul has to beat his apprentice, Count Dooku, and Savage has to beat General Grievous. And if those two things happen, he'll go to Mandalore and face them himself. And that's how it goes. And yeah, so it's mainly about the fights. I of course want Nick Gillard doing the fights. He's the OG there. So Savage and Grievous, that actually happens on a battlefield, at least in my imagination. Yeah, that's another thing with Sidious. Like, he also decides one of his armies has to beat one of my armies. So his, the Shadow Collective goes to battle with a droid army led by Grievous. Yeah, Savage leading the Shadow Collective, and Savage beats Grievous during the battle. I think that would be an epic fight scene. Yeah, then the final battle between Maul and Dooku is on Mandalore, just like how Maul took Mandalore from, what's his name? It's not Saxon, it's, you know who I mean. So, Dooku challenges Maul for the throne of Mandalore, and Maul faces him and wins. It'd be a CGI Dooku, essentially. Since it's, he wouldn't need to be on screen for too long. You just do it for a brief chat scene, then you'd switch with a stunt double. Yeah, and for all the other scenes where you have Dooku, he'd just be a hologram, challenging Maul via hologram. So who cares? Yeah, I can make it work. Right, so that's my idea for a Maul Star Wars project. I think it'd be dope. And the thing is, the clock's ticking on something like that because Ray Park's not going to be young enough to do those kind of stunts forever. Swap him with a stunt double too. Right, so moving on. Maul is kind of unique among dark side users because is he actually cares about some people, as we see throughout the Clone Wars, particularly, Savage and his family ties to Dathomir. So, yeah, he's like Darth Vader in that regard, where he actually has people he cares about. Well, Vader did. In the original trilogy, they're dead, but yeah, so yeah, that could be. Yeah, and that's the thing about the dark side is like any emotion can be power, including caring about people. So yeah, I think there could be potential for Maul to do some awesome Force thing, with that. Right, that'd be pretty cool. Now, for the fifth prediction, I once again have a question. What happens to Marrok? So, in the trailers, we see Maul appears to cut him down, but, he faces Ahsoka in the way sequel to this show, so what's going on here? So, I think I figured it out. So, when Ahsoka kills him in that show, this green dust spills out from him. It's this eerie, supernatural feeling. And I realized, thinking about it, that's like how Savage died in the Clone Wars, that the green mist kind of spilled out of him. So what I bet happens here is Maul indeed does kill or severely wound Marrok, as we see in the trailer, and a Night Sister, probably Morgan Elsbeth, the person he ends up working for, brings him back. Yeah, like that same kinds of magics that were used to make Savage into a monster. That's about it. That's, I think, is going on here. Another question I have is, who are these other Red Zabraks that we see besides Maul? Yeah, it's interesting that they're red because, Maul, him being red is rare, and I think that's because he is the actual son of Mother Talzin. When we see other Zabraks, throughout Star Wars, usually they're Savage's yellow color, right? Or ones that aren't from Dathomir can sometimes be like a brown. Yeah, but red is usually specifically Maul. Yeah, I'm intrigued by this and wonder what's going on here. And I do think they are just going to plain and simply be allies from Dathomir because of their tattooing. It is, it's like Maul's tattoos, sort of. At least the same style. So, yeah, I think the simple answer is the right answer here. Yeah, I'm intrigued by this. Are they his brothers, maybe? More brothers? Yeah, other actual sons of Mother Talzin? Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we never exactly found out how Savage was related to him, but he wasn't red, so I figured maybe they have the same father. Yeah, Zabrak, they're a weird bunch, but I'm excited to find out more. For a 7th spot, I think the Pykes are going to rebel against Maul, and yeah, I'm not sure of the outcome. It's confusing here, which we'll get to. So, yeah, we see him battling Pykes in the trailer, so yeah, clearly something's up here. They're not his guys anymore. Either these are like a, rebel group within his Pykes. Yeah, that kind of thing. Right, so, yeah, and we also see a ship approaching Obadiah, the Pyke homeworld, in one shot, followed by a shot of an Inquisitor exiting a ship. So, yeah, my guess as to what's happening here is the Empire is trying to use the Pykes to lure Maul into a trap on Obadiah, and that results in the duel we see between Maul and his apprentice and Marrok. And possibly the other Inquisitor, who, I'm not remembering which Inquisitor it is. But yeah, you know him if you see him. So, yeah, that's my guess here. I think that'll probably be mid-season. And the outcome is confusing because during Solo, the Shadow Collective is more or less gone, but, the Pykes are still sort of under Maul's influence, so yeah, I'm confused about what's going on here. It could be like a money thing. There's, Maul mainly rules Crimson Dawn in that. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but that's my prediction for now. My 8th prediction is that there will be a mission probably towards the end where he has to trust his new apprentice, Devon Izara, to handle herself. And this is coming from another Sam Witwer quote. Here it is. In the opening episodes, you see him pulling strings, trying to build a new power base. His plan is ambitious, but he struggles with whether he's the puppet master or the guy who goes and takes care of things himself. He doesn't delegate well. He's so used to being the one who handles everything personally that he often still goes to do it when maybe he shouldn't. Delegation is very difficult. He doesn't trust easily. I think that's fitting for Maul's character. Like, that's who he was to Sidious, the guy who goes, takes care of things, go kill these Jedi. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And yeah, as he assembled his own army, like, did a lot of the work himself. Well, because it was kind of all he had. Yeah, he had him and Savage to make that happen with. So there's that. So yeah, now that he's like this, he's almost a king. Like, yeah, I could see him struggling with delegation. Yeah, and not trusting easily because of Sidious. So yeah, that's what's up. And yeah, that quote makes me think that he's going to have to trust this new apprentice. Like, that's where they're heading with this. Right, and that's going to be like one of the major arcs of the show. He has to trust her. Right, so yeah, I'm not sure what that mission's going to be. We probably didn't see it in the trailers. But yep, that's what I'm going with. Maul has to trust her with some mission late in this season. Right. Yeah, another quote here is, in this new series, he's learned to fight in other ways too. He's learning to use words, manipulation, persuasion. He's realizing there's responsibility behind every action. That's new territory for Maul. So yeah, that's more, once again, like, he's learning to be like, like Sidious was, like, kind of like a king. Or yeah, he can't do it all himself. And yeah, like, what's interesting here is we know this all falls apart. Maul is going to lose this, so yeah, I wonder if that's just going to make all Maul's issues worse. Like, when he does trust people, it doesn't go well. Yeah, maybe it does at first, and it falls apart, in later seasons. Yeah, exciting to see. For a 9 spot here, there's got to be some sort of epic battle toward the end of the season, right? Maul versus someone good. So the obvious candidate is Vader. We've been waiting for a Maul versus Vader duel forever. And we kind of don't know beyond a doubt, but we're pretty sure it happens at some point, because in Rebels, Maul, one, knows who Vader is, and knows he's not powerful enough to defeat Vader. So yeah, it seems like Maul has faced Vader and lost at some point. So thing is, like, I definitely think this is planned as a multi-season show. And would a Vader duel happen this soon? Yeah, I'm just not sure of that, unless there's going to be 2. He faces him here and again at the end. But something else that could happen here is he faces the Grand Inquisitor. That could also be a formidable foe for him. Yeah, and that's someone he could defeat, without killing. And yeah, that'd be cool. So yeah, that's what I got. You know what? I will go Maul faces Vader. Because it just kind of feels right, and like, I don't think it's public information what the plans are. How many seasons they've been given for this, but yeah, like, I'll go with, in case things go south, and they have thrown in a Maul versus Vader duel here. Yeah, that's what's up. Now, the last prediction I've got here is that Maul's thoughts about Sidious are going to be further explored. And that's another area I think kind of got cut short in the Clone Wars because of the acquisition. Yeah, we never really got a taste of, like, what was his plan for dealing with Sidious, when he had Savage. Like, did he really want to return to his side with Savage, like he claims to, just before the duel starts? Or is that a deception, like Sidious calls him out on? So I lean more on the latter. I think that was a deception, which he didn't actually expect to work, but yeah, worth the try. He knew they'd have to contend with the real Sith eventually, but yeah, he wasn't prepared for it, and that's a huge part of why they lost. Why Sidious is the tactician that he is. He saw this is the moment to strike. He's just, struck a major blow to Kenobi's heart, and so yeah, some other stuff will be going down. I'm to swoop in right in this moment, and it's going to be perfect. This is when I take Maul down. So yeah, love that duel. Love rewatching that. So yeah, so we should be getting more taste of, like, what his thoughts were about Sidious during that time, what they are now, what they were as his apprentice, which I think is a majorly underexplored area. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of that. So here's another quote from Witwer. He's very angry at Palpatine. He understands now that that guy is the root of his suffering. In Shadow Lord, he sees it even clearer. Everywhere he looks in the Empire, he sees Palpatine's hand. If Maul's going to shake his fist at him, he has to believe he's somehow superior to Palpatine. If he's not, then he deserves everything that happened to him. Right, so what is this thing that Maul is going to find that makes him, still not a good guy, but better than Palpatine? Well, I think it's that he genuinely has people besides himself that he cares about. His family on Dathomir, Savage, though he's dead, now maybe his new apprentice. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I think it's going to be. That, yeah, like he's not pure selfishness like Sidious is. Alright, well, yeah, that's about it. And the thing with Sidious is, again, that feels like more a finale thing, not a first season thing. But yeah, I think that the finale of this show might be he infiltrates the, like Coruscant or something, manages to get the Sidious, lets him have it, like, hey, I'm better than you, shakes his fist like Witwer says, and then he duels Vader. It's like in episode 6 where Vader steps up to face Luke instead of Sidious. Yeah, and that could tie into my idea pretty well. Like, yeah, once again, he's got to face the apprentice before the master. Like my movie idea. Yeah, and he loses to Vader. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm so excited for this, man. I've been waiting for a show like this forever. It's actually a good Star Wars idea. Something the fans want so bad that ties back into, what people actually like about this franchise. Not that I hated literally everything about, what's been done since the acquisitions. Just have hated a lot of it. And it's frustrated this fan base greatly. At long last, we get something with Maul. Can't wait, man. So excited to see it. All right, so yeah, I'll leave you there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.